Hello, we'll be doing the longer waiting physics prediction, as many of you asked. Before we do that, I can ask you to follow the channel and leave comments to see how you're feeling, knowing this is your last science exam. For some of you, this will be the last time ever you'll be doing science. So starting with the predictions, we're going to go with the waves as a very big topic. And in waves, you need to know the properties. You need to know the type of waves. So type of waves means longitudinal or transverse waves. Linked to waves is also electromagnetic spectrum. Now, in terms of electromagnetic spectrum, really big topic. You're going to need the order of the spectrum, dangers, and uses of the spectrum. So in danger is normally the X-rays, UV, gamma radiation on the other side of the spectrum. And then we've got the calculation that is linked. Now remember, you will be given the calculations. You just need to know how to use them. So wave speed is wavelength times frequency. So please make sure you use your formula sheet that will be given to you wisely. Make sure you're able to explain transverse and longitudinal waves when you're doing waves itself. The next topic we're going to go is electromagnetic. So electromagnetic spectrums there. So we're going to now look at electromagnets. Now before we do that, you need to know about magnets. So magnets have two poles, north and south, and you know north and south will repel and north and south will attract. Electromagnets, you need to know the uses, how to make them stronger. In terms of electromagnet, you need to know that electromagnet has a magnetic field, and you need to know the lines of the magnetic field. They'll go across the magnet, so if they're going one way and then the other way. You need to know that the magnetic field has a current around the area it flows. So if I just do your little electromagnetic fields going that way and then that way, you'll have to draw arrows in the exam. Just do it again. Let's make it slightly bigger for you. So if you do the magnet north and south, and then you'll have your fields going across, and then you'll have this side too, and then you need to draw your arrows for the direction of the current that it's going to go. So make sure you are familiar how to draw magnetic field. Electromagnet is used in places where you are going to be separating, so like scrapyard for example, your doorbell, you're going to need an electromagnet there. And then when you're making an electromagnet, how you're going to make strong, so the coil, softer magnet, and the current, you're going to increase that. A link to that is something called solenoids. Again, be able to explain and describe. And linked to this topic is just, we got it's kind of linked to this topic. So then you've got your motor generator effect. So remember your Fleming's left-hand rule, and you'll be able to explain and apply the rule. Also linked to this one is your alternator and generator. We talked about that. And you got dynamo. In the dynamo, you could talk about the bicycle, how the light goes on when you're paddling away. So these are all the linked topics here to electromagnets. Moving on, we have got a small question, they can ask you the differences between a scalar and a vector quantity. So remember, one's got direction and you can measure it, the other one doesn't have a direction. So the differences here. So one will just have speed and not direction. So you just make sure you are able to explain this in your exam. As I said, remember to follow the channel and leave any comments, how you're feeling, knowing it's the last science exam. For some of you, this will be the last time ever you'll be studying your science papers. Moving on, we got lenses. No, lenses, you got concave and convex lenses. You might be able to ask about the focal point. You might be able to speak about the principal axes, short and long-sighted. So correction, which one will you use, concave or convex? So you did this one in the biology exam too. So make sure you are able to explain. You got hydraulics. Now hydraulics is something you can use in your car brakes, or in the brake fluids. It's about linked to the liquids, how they flow. The equation linked to that one here is pressure is equal to force times acceleration. Then we've got terminal velocity. You always get like a 6-mark question on terminal velocity of a parachute landing. So all the different stages, the forces will be upwards gravity and the weight, and you reach a terminal velocity every time you equate the upward and the downward force. You then got Newton's law of motion. So you got the first, second and third law. The first law is law of inertia. The second law is about forces equal mass times acceleration. And then the third law is every action has an equal and opposite reaction. So make sure you have any examples and you're able to justify and explain that. Then we got the stopping, braking, and thinking distance. We got factors that affect these. So the factors that affect the stopping and braking distance will be different to the one for the thinking distance. So if you're thinking, if you're tired, you got alcohol, drugs, that will not apply to the stopping and braking, because that will stop and braking is to do with the condition of the road, the brakes, at the time if you've seen an object and how you're feeling at that very point. In terms of your required practicals, so let's have a look at the required practicals. So you've got Hooke's law. Now Hooke's law is about how the spring, if you overload it, no longer gives you a straight line. So if your Hooke's law applies, you should get directly proportional line. But if it goes beyond, then it starts going off. So at this point here, it's no longer applying the Hooke's law. You've got the acceleration experiment, where you have a toy car and the ramp, and then you measure the distance it travels. You got the ripple tank, which also links to your reflection. and refraction. Experiment to be able to explain these. Also be able to know that in reflection the angle of incidence equal to angle of refraction. So have your little diagram. So you got your norm, angle of incidence, angle to reflection, and then if you got your block, and then you got your norm, angle of incidence is not angle of refraction because it's going through a different medium. So that's refraction, and this is reflection. That angle is equal to that. This angle is not equal to that. So angle of incidence equal angle of reflection. Here angle of incidence is not equal to angle of refraction because you're going through a different medium. And then we have got the infrared experiment where you have effect of temperature on objects, and you might want to measure different ones of them. Now just remember, you will be for the required practicals, we are looking at graphs, trends, variables, writing the practical, and then improving, how you make it better, and naming the equipment. So if you didn't require practical, any of these can come up. Finally, you will be given your equations. You just need to make sure you know how to change the subject that you will say in maths, and then in science we'll be say rearranging the equation. I wish you the very best of luck. Remember, these are predictions only, so please make sure you revise everything.